What can I say about Adventure Time? Created by Pendleton Ward, Adventure Time became a little bit of a staple in animation thanks to its characters, its writing, its style, its world building, its appeal to kids and adults, and how it changed Cartoon Network forever. However, Adventure Time was more than just a game changer. It was also ahead of its time. Now, what do I mean by ahead of its time? Well, Adventure Time was no other show like it at the time, and Cartoon Network was going through a really rough time, mostly because of the crappy live-action shows they made at the time. But once Adventure Time premiered, it started a new renaissance for Cartoon Network. It also gave us shows like Regular Show, The Amazing World of Gumball, Steven Universe, Clarence, and so much more. But today, instead of talking about the history of how Adventure Time became to be, I want to talk about the impact this show gave and how it influenced the world of animation. So, what makes Adventure Time the biggest hit that it was? Well, here is my 4 reasons as to why I think Adventure Time was ahead of its time. Number 1, the idea. So, the world of Adventure Time is nothing really that new. It's been done in so many other things. In fact, the best way to describe the show is like a weird mix of Final Fantasy, Hayao Miyazaki, Where the Wild Things Are, Calvin and Hobbes, and a few others. All in a nutshell. That's Adventure Time in a nutshell, at least. And basically, Adventure Time takes all these ideas, crams them all together, and tries to do something new and unique with it. Just because something has already been done before doesn't mean you can try to do something new and unique to it. And that's exactly what Adventure Time does. It creates characters, it creates environments, it has a great identity of its own, it tries to be its own thing, it has charming ideas, great adventures, great plots, which we're going to get to that in a little bit. There's just so many things you can talk about with this sort of idea, even though it's been done to death before. So yeah, I think Adventure Time does a really good job with its idea, even if it hasn't been done so many times in the past. Number 2, the animation. The animation Adventure Time may not seem very special, but to be honest, that's the groundbreaking thing about it. Adventure Time looked like no other show at the time. Compare this animation and style to something like SpongeBob or Phineas and Ferb. I mean, you could say it looks very similar to those shows, but this one took a new different approach. I mean, the backgrounds look more realistic and more calm. The colors are more bright and colorful, kind of something similar you see out of SpongeBob. The character designs are very wacky and cartoony. This just has great animation, and it has a very unique style. And believe it or not, because of the style, other shows like Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, and a few other shows would go on to do something similar to what Adventure Time did. And I am glad for Adventure Time trying to go with a different, unique style, because it is very groundbreaking. It's not revolutionary, but it is very different. Number 3, the characters. One of the few things that made Adventure Time such a great show was the characters. Some of these characters may seem simple on their own. If you really watch the whole show, these characters will leave a big impact on you. You've got Finn, the leader. You've got Jake, who's the comic relief dog. You've got Princess Bubblegum, LSP, Marceline the vampire, Lady Rainicorn, the Ice King, who's played by the legendary Tom Kenny himself, and so much more. Another great thing about the characters is the relationships and situations they have. For example, you guys have already talked about on and on about Marceline and the Ice King and their relationship involving the post-apocalyptic world. And, buddy, it's pretty genuine. It's some of the best in the series, in my opinion. Some of the best moments. And I agree with everybody on that. It's so heartwarming and touching and sad that it actually creates a lot of development. So, Adventure Time not only has the best cast of characters, but the best voice actors that get involved in them, and the best situations that the characters get into. And the 4th and final reason, the themes. Out of all the kids shows ever, Adventure Time has some of the darkest themes I've ever heard of. Themes about loneliness and depression, drug addiction, love, bad parenting, World War III. These are some of the darkest themes you can ever put on a kid's cartoon. But I'm not talking about the themes in each episode. I'm talking about the theme of the show itself. What do I mean by that? Well, Adventure Time's moral message is change is good, growth is good, support others' growth is good, and accepting others when the change is the best thing you can do. So, what does that mean, you might ask? Basically, that means education is really powerful. Change the way you see things. Adventure Time has a moral no other show has, and that's what makes it so unique, because think of another show that deals with other themes. I mean, there's a few shows out there, but nothing could be as dark or as tragic as Adventure Time's. Adventure Time took all these themes and ideas and takes it differently than most kids' shows. So, overall, guys, no other show can be as good as Adventure Time. Okay, except maybe SpongeBob and Avatar or all the others, but that's a different story. But Adventure Time existed for a reason. Adventure Time taught us some new lessons, it had some great characters, it gave us a brand new world to look at, and it gave us some of the best animation you can ever imagine. It was just a groundbreaking show, and I hope most kids watch it over time because this show deserves a lot more credit than it deserves. And Adventure Time was childhood to everyone. Adventure Time meant a lot of children during my age, and I hope more kids learn and watch Adventure Time because it deserves a lot more credit than it deserves. So I'll say that. And I feel bad that Nickelodeon didn't get to greenlight this show, because if they did, this would have brought it back on the spotlight, because like I said, Cartoon Network was at a really rough time. And without this show, we would have gotten all those other shows like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. So, Cartoon Network, thank you. And that is why Adventure Time was a thing for its time, and most of all, it was ahead of its time.